All right, welcome back, everyone. This is Gotham Sound TV, and this is going to be a portion of the Expo, the Euro edition. Today, I'm here with Peter Schneider, and we're going to be talking about audio wireless. We have a brand new product that we're going to unveil, and we're going to defer to Peter. He's going to dive into this a little bit for us. So, Peter, do you want to go and introduce us with this new
Uh,
product?
I do. Before we do that, TK, can you do me a favor? I think your mic setting got switched again. Just have a look.
Looks like I think you're right. All right,
Yeah. All
all
right.
right, cool, cool.
But we heard what you said, but now your voice sounds so much sweeter. Um, all right. So Aldo, when I sent the emails out to manufacturers, Aldo said he would love to be a part of it, and then I stopped reading his response, and I missed the part where he said, "But I'm going to be on vacation and will only join if I have Wi-Fi." So I am, but he did say in that email for he would send us this product for us to talk about, and so it is and I'll just show it to the front camera. It is the DADM 224 2C. And so, Jared, if you don't mind going to the overhead, actually, you could do the split screen. I can do it like this if you want. But, anyways, all right. So, just to talk about what this product is, it is a 2-zone combiner to 4 receivers. And so just right out the gate, with power distribution for the 4 receivers. Right out the gate, I think the question is why? Why 2 zones? And I think here, and I'm just going to plug it in. So it's this Hiroshi, and we'll turn it on, and there it comes up. The question is why, and from my perspective, I think that it's very interesting that a lot of times, sometimes you have a very long walk and talk, or you want to check, actors being wired by the cart, and then send them off to set. And so this allows you to have 2 zones, basically. You have a zone 1 and zone 2. The A and the B are your diversity inputs. And so, that, you can have one zone be, one end of the walk and talk. You can have one zone be the cart and the other zone be either the other end of the walk and talk or set. So I think this is useful. I think it's very bag friendly. I think it's very cart friendly as well. If it fits on a sound cart quite nicely. It's Hiroshi connectors. We could do a whole video about the correct pronunciation of Hiroshi. Hiroshi connectors for power in and out, and BNCs for antenna in and SMAs for receiver out. So what sets this apart, and let me see if I can get it close to the overhead. Yeah. So that's sort of the boot up screen. And you buy it in filtered versions. So this one is presumably for the US market, 470 to 608, which I think, covers a lot of the frequencies for us, in a decent band pass. A decently wide band pass. And then all of the settings are done in software. So there's a hard power switch on the front, but then everything else is done in software. So, right. So I can turn on bias power to any of the 4 antenna inputs. And I also have gain or I don't know how much of this is viewable. I have gain or attenuation. So that I'll bring it back to 0. And I also can turn on and off the Hiroshi DC power through software. So, I think that that's pretty helpful if you only want to power certain receivers on, if you only want to have powered antennas, for example, for your long run. But if you have a short run that's by the cart, you might not want bias power or need bias power. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty great. Uh, I think we're done with the overhead, unless anybody has any questions. But price is $11.50. It's shipping now. What else? TK, what do you think of this?
I think that you could combine that potentially with some long cable runs, and if you had like to kind of maybe split your cart into two different zones for essentially two different setups and how you'd like to remote it depending on the setup. You could have a shorter run with coaxial cable perhaps, and a longer run with maybe fiber cable, and then
Yeah.
you're doing something cool. I think I like the design of the box in terms of a bag. It's got a 90-degree flat on two different sides, so it looks like you can stick that in a corner. Pretty nice. Maybe
Yep.
even do right angle Hiroshi's or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it looks pretty tidy in terms of the size of the box, and feature wise, I like the LED. Very readable. From I could see what you were doing. So yeah, there you go. Thank you, Jared, for the spec sheet. I'm not sure if you guys will be able to read this on the YouTube and social, but we'll drop a link for the PDF below in the chat as well. So yeah, this is I dig this. I think you have lots of uses for this, and it's always nice to have power, so you can just use this as a remote. A lot of the guys are into modular carts these days, and they want to take off the top half and remote it. So I mean, you could do both with this now.
Yeah, I think I also like the idea of powering the mixer recorder separately from the wireless. That's one way to kind of split the power up. So I appreciate that this is your kind of, I mean, kudos to remote audio because BDS is now like a generic term for power distribution and a sound bag. So this is your BDS and your RF distribution.
Mm. I wonder if it would be possible to have control of like the Wizzy remote antennas in terms of the gain structure and things of that nature. If you were able to turn on bias
Yeah.
power, they were able to talk. Maybe that's a conversation that could be had in the future.
No, I know that. I mean, that brings up a whole topic that I really want to dig into because we have a little bit of time, which is I think that all manufacturers should work on an open standard of communication. And I understand why that's never going to happen, but it's so frustrating because uh, us end users will think of ways to use this stuff that manufacturers won't necessarily, and it will only benefit them because they'll sell more. But we need them to expose some way to talk to it. Look, I think even this device, as I was kind of going through it, it would be nice to to have another way to control the receiver, power and the bias power. I like that you can do it through software, but I can envision a world where, like, let's say I disarm a track on my recorder. It sends a signal to this device, which then, would power down the corresponding receiver.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah, brilliant.
and
Yeah,
it
save
doesn't
on
even
power.
have to. Yeah, and the way I envision this, it doesn't even have to like send a signal to this device. It could just devices could subscribe to the messages, and one of the messages would be the user disarmed the track associated with that wireless receiver, and so then a device with brains could then power it down automatically.
Right. Because what's the point of putting brains in it if you know?
Well, this is the thing. This is the if they can't talk to each other, this we're sort of setting up. This is like the basis of a bad science fiction movie, where all these smart devices that don't know how to talk to each other.
Right. Yeah. Shoehorned.
Yeah. But anyways, so obviously we've gone way off topic, and feel free to our listeners and viewers to comment. But yeah, I mean, anyways, this device does what it says. We tested it in the shop. It works great. Everything works great in the shop. But no, I mean, it does what it says. And we have audio wireless products as part of our rental inventory, and they do very well. And this is a great tool to have in our arsenal. Um, but yeah, as an aside, wouldn't it be great if we lived in a world where we could really have some intelligence and communication?
Yeah. I really think it's got to be the future. For taking all the steps and doing all the communication. So it's if not, it'll continue to be a modular thing where someone's going to figure out a hack, and we'll continue
Yeah,
to live in that world.
yeah, yeah. Well, right. Yeah. I mean, I look. Uh, yes, and Paul Katzman commenting. It's good to see you, Paul, too. And yeah, open standards are the way to go. Um, the the hacks are definitely possible, and I think there's an amazing amount that can be done. Just I encourage everybody to learn a microcontroller called Arduino. If you don't know it, you should learn what it is. Um, and anybody that wants to, if has an idea for something that they want to do with an Arduino, I am the first to say I overcommit myself, but I will definitely steer you in the right direction. Um, One of the things that, like for example, with Arduino, I've been able to do is read timecode. And once you read timecode, there's all kinds of things you can do. So, anyways, I absolutely encourage that, and I think it's a way to show manufacturers, the nature of who we are as consumers.
Mhm.
That we're not afraid to get our hands dirty.
Yeah, I think of the basis of it is the design of a intention of design of a product from a manufacturer doesn't set the standard of how it is intended to be used from the consumer.
Yes, absolutely. I 1,000%. It by the nature of how we use it, we all have specific use case scenarios that, I mean, look at what, and I'm going to be generic here because it's not. I don't want to single any manufacturer out, but the pandemic happened, and there was a push to control a lot of this stuff remotely over the internet.
Mhm.
Um, and some manufacturers' products were a lot easier to do it than others. And I understand, speaking of hacks, I understand why those measures were put in place, but it's also like so frustrating because the ability is there. It's just the roadblocks are frustrating.
Yeah, I think the pandemic did a lot of that, though, in terms of if a very global sense. It fast tracked the world to where we thought it should have already been, probably a decade ago, in terms of just like the ability to order things, the ability to have things, easily accessible. And then there's a whole movement of working from home, like as we are now.
Yeah, I mean this. Yeah, 1,000%. And Paul is asking about technical info, and Jared is all over the answer, Paul. So that Paul's specific question was, what frequency ranges does it support? I have that here. I was, look, it's. I don't want to say what I wanted in a product. I want to say what it is, but I wish that I could change the frequency ranges on the fly. But you have to order it, and I'm looking on the cut sheet for where the frequency ranges are. They were kind of the usual, yeah, 470 to
470.
700, yeah, 470 to 608, 470 to 960, 470 to 990, and 960 to 1164. So, and yeah, I mean, I think the standard caveat for all of that is you want to order it in the narrowest range that you can get by, but that's not going to screw you later. So yeah, and thanks, Paul, for keeping us on topic. Just to pull us off topic, speaking of the chip shortage, I am working on a device, Arduino based, that does the synchronized timing for VR and AR for the depth cameras. And it's completely Arduino based, but I use a variant of the Arduinos called Teensy. And so the chip that I was basing it on is called the Teensy 3.2. So I went to order a couple because Lord knows I have enough, but I wanted a couple just for this project. TK, you haven't seen my room of
No,
parts. No, and it's probably for the best. Anyways,
no,
anyways,
BTS.
my point was the manufacturer of the chip, which is based on a microchip product, said availability April 2023 for onesies and twosies, and quantity June of 2023, and he said that's after promising them for the fall of this year. So, I mean, the part shortage is real, and, I think that is something to bear in mind with all of these products. The part shortage is still going on, and it's still very real.
Right. Seems like it's actually getting worse to
Yeah.
some degrees.
For some, yeah. So I think it's no small miracle for any of these manufacturers that we've been talking to and dealing with that they've gotten any new products out.
Yeah, and I think that's good. A good story to point out, to put some levity on this in terms of expectations and where to kind of manage those.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I think we've exhausted this topic and other topics. I think this is a great tool for any bag or any cart's arsenal. I love the idea of being able to on the fly add a zone. And I do like the software selection of being able to turn that zone off, because obviously if you don't need that zone, at that point you're just adding RF noise to your receivers. So if you don't need it, then you don't need it. Paul's question about MSRP, 1150 is what we are going to put it on our website. So yeah. So
I'm curious now though. It's got brain software inside, so maybe in the future is a potential possibility for upgrade or anything like that, or tweak.
In terms of exposing some kind of GPIO or some kind of communications to it. Hey, listen, I can't. I mean, that's the other thing. That's the other reason I want to encourage everybody to code something in Arduino, because before I really started to do that, I would say it's so easy to do something, and then when you really think about, and then the stuff that I'm doing, it's just me, right? So I don't have to, I try and document it in a way that when I come back to it, I understand what it was. But I no longer will say to a manufacturer, "Can't you just do this?" Because I know even what seems simple on the surface is not so simple.
Right.
However, I do think that there could be a version that exposes. I mean, look, the way that Inspired Energy, exposes the SM bus, the smart battery stuff through the Hiroshi connector. I mean, that's certainly, we're that this idea exists and has existed for a while. It's just, encouraging more of it. Paul
Yeah.
Steele, I know. As I said, 1150. I was like, I hope that's the right price because that really is a good price.
I mean, even if you had the option to potentially upgrade it where within your selected band that you choose, you could tune it to, like a 50 megahertz spread or 40 megahertz spread.
Yeah, yeah. I
That would be
wonder.
super handy.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think probably if I were ordering this, I would order it in the widest possible band, and then I'd
Hmm.
use external filters
Yeah,
to
further.
narrow it further. So that that way you're in any case that 470 filter is really sort of as low as I'd want it to go. So, anyways. Any other questions from anybody or?
Looks like that might be it.
All right. Great.
Well, yeah. I mean, that was fun.
That was fun. Thanks for letting me rant, TK.
No worries. I can't wait to see the BTS on the setup, and I do look forward to getting a 224 CT in the office down here in Atlanta. We can get some feedback on. Maybe we'll get it in the hands of Paul. See what happens.
I think we should. And yes, Paul, well done. For your reward, you will get to have a demo of this if you want. Anyways, all right, we're wrapping it up. Thank you for watching, everybody.
Yes, and for more, check out Gotham Sound TV. We'll be back soon.